And we'll go until about 7 o'clock and take a short break. And
Okay, thank you, Jack. Listen, as small as we are and so forth, I'd like to keep this kind of informal, and as I go through this, through the materials and so forth, please, anytime you feel like you have a question or whatever, holler, because, we can probably get a lot done. Also, I'm going to have an hour session now and probably another hour session later that I'll spend a little bit of time on the play-action pass, but if you'd like to catch me afterwards, I'll be here all evening and be happy to spend any more time if you'd like, okay, because it is a little bit difficult to get everything covered. I want to talk to you a little bit about Kansas State's drop-back passing game, and I'm going to share with you a few points that are important to us in our drop-back passing game. Then I want to get into a couple of our actual schemes so you can get a little bit of an idea of what we're trying to do. These are things that we do almost every week. First thing above anything else is we want to be able to handle the blitz package, and we want to be blitz sound. So Sunday night when we start our preparation, that's the first thing that we'll start with. We'll identify the blitzes of our opponents, and we want to make sure that we are blitz sound. Recognition becomes the most important thing right away, and we spend a lot of time with our quarterbacks in recognizing the blitz. Certainly most of that's going to come from man coverage, most of that will come from your free safety. But we don't feel like we can go very far if we can't handle the blitz. Communication, now we communicate, we put the responsibility for communicating the blitz not only on our quarterback, but also both for all three of our wideouts, if we're in the three wideout scheme, and our tight end. So if they see that manned up look, free safety's playing over the top of, we're a one-back team, incidentally, most of the time, but the free safety's playing over the top of the slot, or he's playing over top of the tight end with blitz showing outside. We want our tight end or our slot to call that out, and we make a call. We want to alert that quarterback, hey, there's a blitz situation. We don't want to just put it totally in his hands. Now, it's still up to the quarterback to make that decision, hey, is it indeed a blitz, is it a bluff, or whatever. But we try to communicate that. Protection obviously becomes very, very important. We put the protection problem in our quarterback's hands. Most of the time, if we can read blitz, obviously you'd want to get into a 7-man protection as opposed to a 6-man protection, which I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this evening. And our quarterback would do that through the recognition process. We also, and with the things I'm going to talk to you a little bit later on this evening, we want to make sure that we cover the unannounced blitz. So we'll have specific blitz pickup responsibilities even in our 6-man protections, okay, so that we can pick up the blitz that's unannounced. The guy that's walked out on the slot in one back, I'm talking about a tight end, a flanker in one direction, slot the other direction, comes unannounced. And we want to have a way that we can pick that up, and I'll share that with you a little bit too as we go along. In terms of our general thoughts with our passing game, and we're probably a little bit different than some, but we want to get maximum use out of all of our eligible receivers, other than the quarterback. We want to get 5 out whenever possible. Reason we want to do that certainly is because we want to stretch the field. We want to stretch the field horizontally and vertically. We want to make people defend the entire field. That's a very, very important premise for our particular offensive scheme, particularly in the drop-back game. We want to make the numbers work for us. We're trying to create situations in our drop-back game at all points where we're either on a 2-on-1, we're a 3-on-2, where the numbers actually work for us. So we're trying to create flood-type situations. And a last point here with number 2 here, we want to attack the weaknesses of a defensive coverage with our strength. And again, we put a lot of emphasis with our quarterbacks getting us into the best possible scheme we can get into to attack a particular coverage. You know, it's that same old adage, and you guys know as well as I do, that, the last guy of the chalk wins. Well, the last guy of the chalk, in most cases, is the quarterback for us as an offensive unit. We know that defenses can stem in and out, and certainly they can put themselves into that situation. So we spend a lot of time with our quarterbacks in understanding how you attack defensive coverages, what are the weaknesses of that particular coverage. Hey, now what schemes do we have to attack that weakness? Obviously, we're into an audible system an awful lot. I'll try to get through this as quickly as possible. I think it is important if you're going to really understand what we're trying to do. With our drop-back game, we want to minimize sacks and losses. That's an easy statement. How do you do that? Well, one of the things, and something that became very important to us 2 years ago, and we've been doing this for 2 years. When I was up at the University of Iowa with Coach Snyder, at that point, we used to be a 3-step, 5-step, and a 7-step drop-back game. Or in the back pedal, which we were a back pedal team as well, we were 4, 6, and 8. So we had that deeper drop, the 7-step sprint game, the 8-step back pedal game. We no longer do that. We haven't done it for 2 years. We're into a 3-step sprint game and basically a 5-step sprint game in terms of a drop back. And I think that's real important, because what are people trying to do to you right now? I know that at our level what they're doing is they're putting guys out there at 9 techniques and 5 techniques, they're widening them, and those guys now are 4, 5, 4, 6. They're sprinters. And they're putting them against your tackles. They're sitting there anywhere from 4, 9 to 5, 2, or in some cases worse than that. So it's a mismatch, and we don't really feel like we can protect that kind of depth anymore. That's something that's doing at the pro level, and so we have reduced the depth of our drops. We don't take that deeper drop anymore. The other thing that we have done, we've probably gone more to the sprint drop as opposed to the back pedal. It's a faster drop. We've spent a lot of time with trying to get set up and get the ball off fairly rapidly. Right now, one of the things that I do, and I don't know whether it be help to you or not, but when I go through the spring and I go through our cut-ups, I time every snap that our quarterback takes in the passing game. I time it from snap to when he gets the thing off. And we're trying right now very hard to keep that 3 seconds and under. Now, we know that as we start approaching 3.5, we got some trouble. And it used to be with the deeper drop game, we were at 3.5 probably most of the time. Okay, so we're really trying to reduce that. Most of the time now, in our 5-step game, we're around 2.8, right in that area. Somewhere in that area. Now, when we get into the 3-step game, obviously we're, under 2. So I think that's helped a great deal. In the drop-back game, one of the things that we'll do is if we're in a definite passing situation, we'll put our alignment up. We'll always give our tackles that choice, and we will also do that with our guards in situations, but we'll dictate that by our quarterback. Okay, and we'll take our same cadence. I'm not going to get into cadence with you, but we'll take our same cadence and just put them from an up position. Now we'll mix in some runs, draws, some things of that nature with that, so it's not a total giveaway. But if you're in a definite passing situation, why not put your kids in the best possible situation they can be in? And from the up position, they're in a little bit better position to take that guy off the corner, particularly your tackles. We want to make sure that we're timely with underneath routes. And by that I mean for us, we're trying to get 5 guys out. I said originally, we're going to stretch the field horizontally, we're going to stretch the field vertically. Well, we need to have people underneath and are getting out fast enough that if the pocket starts to break down, we can dump the football off. Again, we don't want to take losses, we don't want to take sacks, and we want to be able to get the ball off in time. What happens if you as you watch your schemes, you may be getting your back out for the dump guy, but he's getting out too late. By that time, your quarterback's on his butt. So we don't want to hold him in there a long time. I'd probably get after a running back coach as much as anything, for that, just not getting him out fast enough that we can get it dumped off. Because the thought is sometimes, hey, hold him in there a little bit longer till the linebackers drop out, and then we can lay the ball off to the back. But you got to understand, most of our schemes, we're stretching those linebackers anyhow over the top, so we don't have to wait that long. We want to minimize interceptions. Me, and I think all of you guys understand this, but I think it has to be coached. Is, the biggest chance you have for a loss really is a turnover in a ball game. So we try to eliminate those turnovers. Well, how do you minimize interceptions? Because I think you have to teach it again. For us, obviously quarterbacks making the correct decisions. But I think you also have to teach to them to throw to the receiver away from the defender. Small point, but I think you have to talk to them about that. When you're talking about open area cuts, putting it equal distance from all defenders. Well, one of the things that we do, and I grade our receivers down as much as our quarterbacks when we throw an interception. And we've had very few. I don't think we've had a season right now where we've had over 9 interceptions since we've been there. But I put a great deal of emphasis with our receivers is when that ball's in there, you got 3 things really that I tell them that I want them to do. 1, make the catch, obviously. If you can't make the catch, bat it away. If you can't bat it away, I'll take the interference, but I don't want to give up the interception. And they're taught that. And at the same token, if it happens, hey, I'm on the receiver as much as I am on the quarterback in intercessions. So I think that has to be coached, it has to be taught, and certainly if you're going to have faith in your passing game, that's got to be a big part of it. Why do run-oriented coaches say they don't want to throw the football? Because they don't want to turn it over. You know, we want to create big plays and still yet maintain a controlled passing attack with a high completion percentage. Normally, I'd like to be somewhere around 60% with the drop-back game overall. Certainly, when you get into the three-step game, you're looking at somewhere in the 70 percentile. Some of your drop-back game, it'll all balance out. Some of your five-step game maybe be slightly underneath that. But I think 60% is a realistic figure, and that's what we strive for with our particular guys. Something that we did actually just last year, and I think it's real important, is we want a minimal amount of protections. You know, prior to last year, and this happens so many times, I think, with coaches. You kind of grow a little bit each year, and you put in a new protection, and pretty soon you put in a new protection. We had 5 or 6 different protections with our drop-back game. Well, it's hard to teach that. It's hard to get enough repetitions of that. So we started taking a very, very critical look at what we were doing, and we decided, hey, we can reduce it to 2 protections. And basically, it's a 6-man protection, a 7-man protection, and in terms of our drop-back game. And so we eliminated an awful lot of that, and I'll talk to you obviously about the 6-man protection. If any of you want to visit with me about 7-man protection a little bit later, I'll do that for you as well. Something that's important to us, and I'll visit with you more in depth when we start talking about the protections here, but we want to have the ability to provide help anywhere along the line of scrimmage. You know, the worst thing that can happen is you can get into a ball game and you're trying to protect, and all of a sudden you got the mismatch, and you can't handle that one-on-one situation, and they're putting you into the one-on-one situation. And what do you tell your kids? You know, you got to give them something they can go to. You know, tackles a lot of times, and we'll do this in ball games. In a lot of situations, we'll put a tight end out to one tackle as opposed to the other one, just to widen the width of the rush guy. We like, of course, to give help to our center all the time. And if we end up, for example, with a 3 technique and a 1 technique, one's a little bit stronger, we're going to help one direction or the other. So we're going to try to give that guy a chance to succeed. And this is something, and it's not incorporated into our drop-back scheme, but I think it's something that helped us, and we made that change last year, is we want to be able to move the pocket a little bit, which then in turn helps you in your drop-back game. And I won't be getting into that this evening at all, but one of the things that we also found is by moving that pocket, buying more and more time, we could really get some awfully big football plays because we were able to get receivers deeper and deeper. And, so that's helped our drop-back game immensely. Okay, again, we want to be able to control the wide rush and the inside rush. And when you get into the one-back schemes that we're in, we feel like we have to be good at draws. We need to be good at screens, shovels. Cadence becomes an important factor. You know, the minute that the defense can tune in to your snap count and get off as quickly as you can, you got some problems, particularly in pass protection. And again, when was it? 2 years ago, we took an awful beating over at the University of Kansas, and they got tuned into our cadence, and we made some big-time changes over that year. Now I'll dare anybody to tune into our cadence. We do so many things right now with our cadence, it's unbelievable. But we want to put our kids in the best possible position to succeed, and so consequently, we don't want any defensive lineman to be able to jump that snap count. We already talked about quarterback drop and the things that we've done with that. You'll find that when we start talking about our drop-back passing game, we want schemes that are adaptable to a lot of different formations. And just a little bit here, I'll start talking to you how we handle that. But we're very multiple in formations, particularly our one-back formations, and we want to be able to adapt those schemes equally to all those formations. These are things that last couple points here, just important to our overall offense, but I think in your drop-back game, you don't want to get in a situation where you're into your drop-back passing game. Every time it comes up 3rd and 11, 3rd and 15, 3rd and 8, you're into your drop-back passing game. I think that becomes very difficult. If you want that 60% rate of completion, you can't just throw the football when it's 3rd and long or 3rd and extra long. We want to be unpredictable. We want to be unpredictable by down and distance, by field positions, and by formations. With our formations, we plot our formations each week. We know exactly what our opponent's going to see, and we try to break those tendencies. I think that's extremely important. And then the last point, and again, I won't visit with you this evening about that, but you need to have an effective game as well in the red zone. And we combine both the drop-back game and the play-action game down there in the red zone. But it has to be good there. Okay. Get rid of these sheets here. Okay, first of all, a little bit on protection, and we're going to talk about now just our 6-man protection from a schematic standpoint and how we deal with it. Now, first of all, we'll take a 4-2, which we see an awful lot of the time. Let me see if I can get that up there a little bit higher. We're going to see an awful lot of the time. Now, as I said, we can go either direction. If we have trouble with one of those 1s or 3s, we can go either direction with our calls. We're going to make a call by and large with a 4-2 scheme. Our center's going to make the call, and he's going to make a combination call with 4-2, with a 4-2 situation where he's uncovered. He's going to make a zone call to one side and a man call to the other side. You can use whatever names you want. We have our own particular names for those. I like right now out of the 4-2, our basic way would be to make the call back to the tight end side. So he's going to make his zone call back to the tight end side, so those two would end up with those two. He's got the widest defender his side, and then we would have a man call back to this side, okay, where the guard's going to end up with a 1 technique, and we would have him. Now, I mentioned before, it's important that you're also prepared for the unannounced blitz. So we always have particular blitz pickup responsibilities. Our tight end would always be responsible for number 4 weak, if that's a strong safety or nickel, whatever. So as he releases, he's responsible for him. If that safety comes unannounced, hey, I would rather lose him in the scheme and keep my quarterback from getting nailed than get him out in the scheme and let him get nailed. So we make sure that protection is taken care of. So he always has that responsibility. To the backside now, our back's going to end up, he'll always go away from the call, so we're going to end up with a zone call this way. He's always going to go away from that call. He's going to go to the man's side, and he's got a double read. Basically, if they're all zoned, it's no problem here. He's going to end up with that inside backer, but we always tell him as well. He's got inside backer to outside blitz. So if he gets an unannounced blitz coming off the slot that we would have out there, then he's got that blitz pickup responsibility. Okay? Now, if we, see if I can get some of these other ones here. If, taking the same front here right now, if we wanted to get some help one direction or the other, and let's say now we want to get the help back to the 1 technique side. I'll show you again just how we would handle it. Now we're going to go ahead and make our zone call back to the split side. This is the guy we're having trouble with. Okay? So those two now have those two. Okay? We still end up right here. Okay, and on the back side now we get a man call. So we have him there. We have him there. Our tight end is off. He's got the same blitz pickup responsibilities in case we get number 4 coming off that side. Our back now, he's got the backer that side. Now, in order to handle the blitz back to the other side, and it's probably not quite as good, we simply, if we get the unannounced stunt coming from the secondary, okay, off the slot, we'll set down back inside. If we're having any trouble with that, we'll go ahead and double read or dual read with our offensive guard. So again, so we still can take care of the unannounced stunt. Now, if both come to that side, that's of course the problem everybody worries about. You know, if both come, we're going to go with our slot normally, our normal way would be hot, come off uncovered, quick slant. And you can see that if they would send both of these and come with him, he comes off hot, that's a vulnerable area. Okay, and that's what we would end up doing. So we'd want to make sure that we're blitz sound from that standpoint. All right, now if we go to more of a reduced look, and again, we see a lot of six-man front. Let me get this up where we're supposed to be here. Okay, where we're shading the nose, 3 technique, and this could really be a 7, 6, or 9. That all on there, okay. And back or behind. Again, remember what I said in the beginning, we try to buy help for our center in most instances. So we're going to get a zone call all the way across the board. Actually, these 3 work against these 3. Okay, so they end up, he's responsible for A gap, he's responsible for B gap, he's responsible for C gap. He's back out, he's got blitz pickup, got a man, or he's got the man on. We're just starting slide protection here. First uncovered lineman starts to slide back. Okay, our back then, he's got inside to outside on the blitz to that side. Okay, let me take a look here. Take a little different defense here. Let's take just a base defense. Okay, and again, we're looking at this type of a situation where we're normally going to have that guy walked. If he's back inside, we'll double read it. But again, we take the first uncovered lineman back. We'll end up with those 2 on those 2. He's got him. He's got him. He'd have blitz pickup. He's got him. He's got double read inside to outside. It's fairly simple protection. Like I said, our center makes those calls. Let me take one other one here that's kind of, whoops, go ahead.
When you're running back, when he's got the double read, what's his angle towards the line of scrimmage?
Okay, we're just setting him off to the side, and his eyes are inside to outside right now. Now we don't wait very long because, he's setting up. Okay, if that guy's not coming, he's going, he's out. I don't want him sitting there very long. He's reading it as he steps up, and he's out of there. We're going, but he's still going to take a peek back outside before he takes off. Again, I want to get him out in a timely fashion. Okay, there's one other situation that's fairly common here, very popular anymore, is the double eagle, or what many term the 46 package, and what you might do on that. And we start our slide, and it actually ends up being a full zone look all the way across the board here. Assuming now that you got a man-free look, that he's manned up, so he's out of there. He's got the outside receiver, and we actually max that. So we're going to go ahead and start the slide back, and that's a special situation, and we yell it out. Our centers make that call, double eagle, double eagle. That's in our terminology, or 46 as most people put it. We would not be into a 6-man protection there if they showed blitz where he is a rush type person. But if they're in the man-free, where that backer actually has the tight end, then we'll go ahead and release him, get him out of there, and take it. Now, our tackle that's blocking out, sometimes people will exchange here and take the end and drop him, rush the backer. He's going to just take the first thing to show outside. Okay? Any questions over any of that? Protections. Everything starts with protection. Can't throw the ball if you're on your back. Okay. Now, in some instances, we will also incorporate some draw fakes, which may lock our protection call in. For example, if we were, let me see if I get up here. Say, for example, we wanted to get a draw fake to the tight end side here. That locks our protection into a man call to that side. Backside now is a zone call. So we're working back like this, those two with those two. He has double dual read here, a blitz responsibility, and again, we really don't emphasize that really strongly unless we see that that becomes a problem, because we'd rather make sure we secure that down lineman. To this side, we're man. He's got him. Now, one of the things we'll do there, when we step off to the side for that draw fake, my eyes very quickly still look back outside there to make sure blitz, and we'll abort the draw fake if we know that the blitz is coming unannounced off the corner. Okay. All right. Let me get rid of these for a minute. Okay, let me use this here a little bit. All right, as we, the way that we incorporate our schemes now, I said we're very much of a one-back team. Although one of the things we do too, just to be a little unpredictable, is we may go to the ball game and we may work in there 5, 6, 8 snaps of pro or whatever. You know, basically we're working our one-back offense out of a pro front. Okay. The way that we deal, if in this particular formation with slot one way, flanker the other way, we happen to call it lion, but and of course we label people across the board. We label that happens to be a Y in this particular formation, R, a W, an X, and an F. That stuff just tells our guys where to line up. In terms of understanding schemes, what our guys are in tune to is, hey, that's an outside receiver, that's an outside receiver. That's an inside receiver, that's an inside receiver. It may be play side or backside. So once they learn a scheme, they can adapt that scheme to a number of different formations. For example, now if we get to a situation where we're, let's say, trips with the wide out. Okay, if we have a third receiver to that side, we still got an outside receiver, an outside receiver. That's still the next receiver in, and for our people is always the inside receiver. And if we have a third receiver to that side, for us, we call it a middle receiver. So that's the guy right there. Now, it's important for our guys, pretty simple, but it's important for our guys to understand, hey, in any formation, what are you lining up as? An outside receiver, an inside receiver, or a middle receiver? Okay, now, let me illustrate the first scheme that we'll talk about and how we would do this. Okay, and I'll just do coverages here right now. Okay. We run a middle scheme, and to us we can run a middle scheme we could run it out of a balanced formation such as we are here. This would be our lion formation. We can run it out of a balanced formation, 2 tight ends, 2 wide outs, as long as they know they're outside, inside, or whatever. We could also run it out of a trips formation. We have run it out of a pro formation before, but let's take a look here at just the one-back situation and what we're trying to accomplish. First thing I'm going to illustrate it here against. And we also will run this from the middle of the field. We'll also run it a little bit differently from the hash, but we run it both ways. We're normally going to get this type of alignment or configuration with cover 2. And incidentally, any time that you line up one back in your passing game, whether you're a play action team, whether you're a drop back team, or both, if you want to run the football at all, you can never allow them to line up and leave it uncovered. If that backer, many people trying to do, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about this when we talk about play action, but a lot of people will try to play him outside here in their scheme, in their pass scheme, and still play him back into the B gap for run support. You can't allow that to happen. And you have to be able to throw uncovered out there. You also have to be able to play action it and put him in a situation where you can't play both. Okay. Middle schemes. All of our middle schemes are the way we want to handle it. Both outside receivers, and we've changed this a little bit, both our outside receivers have a rule of conversion comeback. Okay. In this case, on our conversions, we want to get to a point where we're about an arm's distance. We're just out of distance of that corner that he can't quite reach out and touch us, and yet we can get our hands on his hands. Okay, so he can't get a heavy cloud into our underneath our pads. But what's that corner's responsibility? His responsibility is to funnel you to the half player, or to disrupt you enough on your release outside so you can't get off right down into that alley area. Okay, and that's the area that we're trying to get off to versus cover 2, right into that soft area there of 18 to 22 yards down the boundary. And let's see, I'm a little high here. I guess you can't see that. Both outside receivers in this particular scheme, this particular configuration would end up with a conversion. Now we've in the past we've also given them the ability to, and last year we didn't do this, but we also given them the ability to run a corner route, which we would come back off at his inside shoulder, work back inside till we cleared him. We'd maybe end up being, with our present hashes now, be about 4 yards outside the hash. The old hashes, high school hashes, a couple yards outside the hash. We'd get back upfield, so we would be like this. We would be back inside, clear him, get back upfield, where we still have leverage on that half player, look off, and back to that same dead area, but in a little different way. So both of those routes are the same versus the rolled corner. If that corner would go soft, okay, I'll try to diagram that down below here. If that corner would go soft, and we just teach them, hey, soft corner, rolled corner, then we're going to go ahead and run a comeback. We'll go ahead, press him hard. We're going to take a little trigger move here at about 12 to 13 yards, which would be a left, right, left. Make sure that's on the thing here, which is a trigger move, and then we're going to come right back down to the boundary, which we would call a comeback. So we will route adjust that. Okay? Some people, again, they'll try to stem. They'll start up their heavy cover 2, come back out, and play a too easy type of look. Okay, so he has that. Both outside receivers would have that adjustment that they can make. Okay, our inside receiver play side. And we have a way in our scheme to indicate which is play side and which is back side. You can really build that in any way you want to. It still comes off of, for us, it comes off of 75 protection, which is our 6-man protection. Okay, that inside receiver, we're going to work him now down the middle, but we want him to favor that near half player. Knowing that our quarterback will go ahead and pull him a little bit further back inside. We don't want that to be a long throw downfield. We're trying to throw that thing underneath. Okay? If that free would center up, which sometimes they will, for example in cover 3, or if they go quarter in the front, roll in the back, he'll center up. Well, he has the option route of setting it down there, hooking it up about 16 yards, and what he's trying to do then is trying to find equal distance between those two backers. When I start talking about cover 3, you'll see where that takes place. But for this, he's downfield. You know, what we're trying to accomplish is an age-old thing, and all of you are familiar with it, is just trying to get the 3-on-2 downfield there. Okay? Doesn't always work out that way. Now, the next thing we're going to do, the backside inside receiver is always this situation. We're going to run him and under, and we're going to try to get him into that point here, right underneath that far side backer. Okay. Now, let me draw the rest of it here, and wherever our protection call is. If our protection call is a zone call this way, a man call this way, and our back comes out this way, he's going to check right underneath that backside backer. Not this one, not the wide one, but that inside backside backer. He comes out this side, he's still going to check in the same position. We call it check middle. 5-step sprint drop. Now we could also draw fake that, which helps a little bit, and I'll show you how that might help in just a minute. Okay, the way that we read it. And we do little read drills with this all the time where we may get rid of all the corners and just work this inside part. Our quarterback, as he comes back, he's reading that backer right now. Backer runs, he's dumping it to the undercoming. His backer runs, he voids it, we're going to dump it to the undercoming. Fairly quick throw. High percentage, yeah. You know, you could probably take a junior high kid and be able to do that. Okay, as long as you can get the protection. It really doesn't take too much. Now, what can happen? That backer runs, we're thinking dump it off. They could lock the far backer on. And if we see that, our quarterback's automatically coming back right over here. So, you know, as he comes back, he's looking at that near backer. Backer runs, we're going to think dump. Okay, but we know if anybody locked it on, it had to be the far backer. We're going to come right back and take the check middle. Okay, and that's as far as we get. We're not into the downfield portion. Now, if that backer doesn't run, or he runs and then sits, and we can influence that if we just take a little draw fake here to start with, which we like to do. We like to get that little play action, particularly if we want to get downfield, and hold him, and he's going to play it under. Now we're into what we'd like to be in downfield. We're into that 3-on-2 situation. We're going to throw that, the middle route, if it's there. If it's not there, it's because one of those two safeties took it away. If we look at that guy predominantly because we know that if we've gained leverage on him, we're going to throw that. Unless he takes it away, then we're going to throw that. He takes it away, we're going to come over and throw that. But we just go through that same sequence over and over and over. Looking at backer, backer runs, dump it off, other backer locks on, come over and take the check middle. If the backer sits, which a draw fake will help that, and you can adjust your protection. Just make a man call on that side, zone the other side, okay, to get him to hold in there a little bit, okay. If he's not holding in there, what do you ought to be running? You ought to be running draws, okay. Look on downfield, throw it to the middle route, not there. Whichever safety takes away, go back to that side. It's not very difficult, and it's very easy to set that up and drill it over and over and over. Okay? Let's take a look here against cover 3. And again, many of these things we'll try to do is all-purpose. We like it best against 2 or some type of a halves coverage. But let's take a look at it at 3, and then I'll go back and take a look at it from a different formation, how we might do it. Okay. And again, we face so much nickel stuff, particularly back inside. Okay, same rules. We're talking about both outside receivers, conversion comeback. We're going to run the comeback. Okay? Now, again, that was one of those areas where we adjusted from previous years. We used to run comebacks up there at 20 yards and 22 yards, and our quarterback sitting back there holding the ball, and bam, he's sacked, you know. When we went to the drop, or the 5-step sprint drop, we had to make sure we timed up all those routes, again, with the routes we were running. So we dropped those down. We dropped most all of our deeper routes down. Now, the one thing that's important here is you still end up with the trigger move here, okay, which helps you time those things up. So once they start that trigger move, we can go ahead and put the ball in the air. Okay, so we got conversion comeback both sides. Okay, we still end up with the middle route. Now, the middle route, what do we say? If there's a free safety back in there, we'll go ahead and set it down, hook it up around 16. We're looking for equal distance or an open area halfway between those two backers. Okay. Our backside inside receiver, he's going to clear the far backer and choke it down halfway between him and the next underneath player, which right here is a strong safety. Our back's doing the same thing. You can draw fake it if you'd like. He's going to check it underneath the far backer. 5-step sprint drop. Or if we're going to draw a fake, it's 1, 2, 3, flash fake, and then we're still going to set on 5 steps. Okay, the way that we read it again. We still want to take a look at that front side backer. Okay? And that backer runs out of there. If he runs out of there, just like he did before, he runs out of there, we're going to dump the ball off to the under, short throw. Okay? Unless what? I mean, it just makes sense. Unless that flat player takes it away, and then you're just going to take it right on across, take the comeback. Again, you got to accept the premise that a deep outside 1/3 player can't play a deep and underneath both. So we're still looking for that area right there. Okay, and that's what we'll get most of the time. We don't have to throw very many comebacks. We put them out there and we stretch the field with them, but we don't throw very many comebacks. Now the quarterback we got right now, he can throw some comebacks. Now what's that old saying? You can throw a ball through a car wash without ever getting wet. Chad May can do that. But we don't put the emphasis on that. We would really rather get to that. Okay. Now the backer sits in there. Okay, and one of the other schemes that we run, this is very similar to it. The read's very similar to it. He sits in there. What have we done? We've widened that backer with him, right? Okay, so our next thing is, hey, what's his next read? Come on downfield. There's number 2. Okay, free safety can't play him deep and underneath both, right? All right, so we ought to be able to throw it to that. Who's the one guy that can take that away? Now we're back over here. Okay, so again, we're just reading across the board again. We're still reading off that front side backer. We just have to know that if a flat player takes it away, we're out here. He sits in there. We're coming right on down to take the hook safety. Not there. Come on down. What are we doing? We're working a triangle here in those 2 underneath backers. We're getting stretched this way, stretched this way. We've got a nice little throw there, and that's, again, it's an easy throw. It's a high percentage throw. You're right in front of the quarterback. It's only about 12, well, it's about 16 yards. Plus another, we set her about 7 yards, so it's about 21 yards. That's not too difficult. So that's how we would work that that particular scheme off of 2 basic coverages. Now let me take it here and show you how it might work from a different formation. Okay, this will be a trips formation for us. Again, now that's outside, that's inside, that's middle, and that's outside. Now we do a little bit of changing up here. You know, nothing's ever totally simple, but we get people that want to play us, you know, bumper backer, and they'll still play us cover 2 to trips. Okay, and in most instances here, we do change up a little bit. If that half player is inside number 2, rather than run the middle route with the inside receiver, we'd rather run the middle route with the middle receiver. He's got a little bit better leverage situation. So we would go ahead now and say in this particular situation, we'd run a Y middle, and his route would remain the same. 2 outside receivers, still conversion comeback, trying to get back to that dead area, back in behind. Okay. Now what we do in this situation, we interchange our back and our inside receiver and really give them different. In other words, what we're going to do with our inside receiver, he'll replace the back to that far linebacker, and we'll take then our back over the near linebacker. So they just interchange. Read actually ends up being the same. We still take it off that front side backer. He runs. Now we're going to dump to our back. If the other backer comes across to lock on, we're going to come back to our under. Okay, but we read it the same way. Same way here. If we draw fake it, he sits in there. We're downfield. Read it off your safeties now. That one takes it away, you're there. That one takes it away, you're there. Okay. Middle schemes normally take, we're normally right around 3. We're around 3 to 3-2 if we go downfield. If we don't go downfield, which happens more times than not, we're probably around 2-6, 2-7, right in that area. Okay. Okay. Any questions over middles before I go on to a different scheme? How much time we got here? I'll tell you what. Before we go on to another scheme, let me take you through the tape of middles, and then we can come on back and if we have time here for another scheme. Any questions about that? Now we have, and that's why I said I can't get through all this in an hour. There's no way. But if you want to spend more time and later on, I'd be happy to do that with you. We probably have, I would guess somewhere in the vicinity of 15, 16 different schemes that we apply like that, and they're all very basic read, and you know, we're very multiple that way. Let me put this middle tape in here, if I can find it here. And it's not real long, so we might be able to get back on some other stuff here in a minute. Okay. It's kind of blurry yet here. I don't think you got that very well focused. Now this is against quarters here, but in our initial read here now will be off the front side backer, right here. Now if he runs, which he does, he runs with the tight end, we're thinking dump right now. Now the other thing that we do give him the ability to do here against quarter coverage is obviously if that guy runs hard and they're playing quarter, there's nobody out there to play the comeback, so he can go either way here. If he sees that, he can go ahead into the comeback. But really, this is the high percentage pass right here. Dump off to the under coming. Doesn't take very long. Get him turned right back upfield. It's high percentage pass. That's just the close-up here, so I'll play it on by here fairly quickly. You see that void area. Once that front side backer runs, he runs hard. You know, there's a whole big void area out there, and so we really got both worlds at that point. We can throw the under, or we can go ahead and throw the comeback. Really, in quarter coverage, there's really not that much of a need to run that front side backer quite so hard. Okay, now this is a little bit of the situation with the cover 3 type look. And again, we're looking at that front side backer. Okay, we actually, because he came, we should dump it off, but we look in front here and we see the flat player sitting there right in front of it. We come down to the next situation here, which would be our hook safety, right between the two backers, and that's where the completion is. Again, we're looking here first. Now he comes. What they did is they just used a replacement stunt here. So now it comes off of him. Now we ought to be thinking dump. Probably should have dumped the ball off. But, okay, this again still out of a line formation. Now this same thing, they went man free here. And normally we wouldn't necessarily want to be in it versus man free, but at the same token, it's not all that bad because this, with man free, we got 2 routes versus the man free that look awfully good. One is an under. If that guy's playing that far off, the under is going to be wide open. So you got a nice short throw. Particularly is, what do people do? People want to leverage. If they got man free, they know they got the help back behind, so they're going to leverage him outside, so the under becomes a very viable route. Now the other thing is we're one-on-one out here for the comeback, and that's what we ended up taking. So we wouldn't necessarily take that off of that front side backer. We would recognize man free there, either dump the ball off or take the comeback, and go either way. Nebraska's a pretty heavy man free team. This gives a good view for your quarterbacks. That to me is the easy throw. That's the one I would have liked them to take. That's high percentage. That'll get as much as that one. As a matter of fact, it'll get a lot more because it'll get turned back up.
You guys always put stand up tight end?
We do, except for short yardage, or we give them the ability to go down in short yardage or goal line, run or pass. Same thing, this is man free. Oops, that guy lost here. He's got to make that decision. If he feels like he can go downfield, we'll go ahead and let him do that. I'm more interested in results than always doing everything by the book. The one thing I have found with Chad is that he can get it in tight areas. Here we're making the draw fake here to try to hold him, which allows us to get downfield a little bit. Now, whether they're man-free here, it looks like they are man-free. Leverage the tight end outside. If we get rid of him, free safety still deep, we can still put it in there underneath, and that's what he does. Same look, and they're leveraging the tight end from the outside in. Free safety's deep behind, trying to we're able to just dump it to the tight end. You can see it a little bit better here from the, you can see the draw fake. That's going to affect him. It's going to hold him a little bit, allows you to get that tight end downfield. Again, they're trying to play him outside in leverage, which is kind of tough. Now, this is in the Copper Bowl, and we ended up in a trips formation. We actually ran the middle scheme with our inside receiver. We would rather run him with Y right here because it's a leverage situation. Again, the draw fakes help a great deal. Just about done here, Jack. Okay. Okay. Catch this. Okay. I know that's You know, time goes so fast. That's one particular scheme. Whew. That's just one particular scheme, and like I said, I'm going to be around all night, so I'm here for only one reason, and so if any of you want to get with me, and I'd be happy to talk any of our other schemes and do any of that with you. I did want to get through some of the protection, though, with it. The next session, we got about a 15-minute break, I believe, and then that's next section, I'll come back and we'll talk about basically the outside play pass off the outside zone, but we also incorporate that in our drop back scheme as well, and we'll have some tape of that. So I guess we got about a 15-minute break here now.